tragic fate of Macaulay Culkin. His performance as Kevin McAllister in Home Alone and its sequel made him the most famous child actor in the world. And then, almost without warning, he was gone. Retired at 14, fighting his own family in court and disappearing into a life the cameras couldn't follow. This is the tragic fate of Macaulay Culkin. At his peak, he was the highest-paid child star in history, earning millions from film roles and merchandising. One movie. That's all it took. In 1990, a 10-year-old kid from New York stood in an empty house, slapped his cheeks and screamed, and the entire world fell in love with him overnight. But here's the thing. The world that made Macaulay Culkin a superstar didn't build anything for him to land on when it was over. And what came before the fame, and what ran alongside it the entire time, was a story the movie posters never advertised. Macaulay Culkin is the third of 7 children born to Kit Culkin, and common-law wife Patricia Brentrup, and financial insecurity was pretty much a constant during his childhood. His mom worked at a telephone answering service for a theatrical casting agency while his father worked at a Catholic church so the kids could go to school there for free. The Culkins weren't just working class, they were scraping. 7 kids, 1 apartment in Manhattan, no real cushion for anything. Billy Hopkins, the New York casting director who gave Macaulay his first part, told New York Magazine that the family was so poor, Macaulay would crawl under the bleachers at the theater to look for change that had fallen out of people's pockets. Hopkins added that he would pay out of his own pocket to get Macaulay back and forth from rehearsals. That detail lands differently when you realize what was about to happen to that same kid. How, within a few years, he'd be commanding $8 million a picture. Macaulay's dad, a child actor himself, saw an opportunity to capitalize on his kids and became their full-time manager. Kit had tried acting, done a handful of Broadway shows, and gone nowhere. So he pushed his children toward what had escaped him. And among all of them, Macaulay was the one who caught lightning in a bottle. Among his siblings, Macaulay emerged as the most successful and quickly rose to fame. But Kit gained a reputation in the industry as an aggressive, difficult manager, leading Macaulay to realize that his career was no longer entirely under his control. The speed of it all is almost hard to process. By 1990, Macaulay was in Uncle Buck alongside John Candy. A year later, Home Alone opened and became one of the highest-grossing films in history. Then came My Girl in 1991. Then Home Alone 2 in 1992. Then The Good Son in 1993, where he played a child killer opposite Elijah Wood. Then Richie Rich in 1994. By all accounts, 1994 should have been a great year. For the teenage star, he was 13, the biggest name in Hollywood and showing up on magazine covers worldwide. But even then, behind all of that, something was already breaking down. He would later recall the exact point when he was growing a little more tired. Telling a magazine he asked his father for some time off. That request didn't go well. Culkin would later claim his father was mentally and physically abusive and made threats including, "Do good or I'll hit you." Culkin believed his dad resented him for his Hollywood success. "I think he kind of hated me a little bit for that," he said. A man whose own acting career had stalled out. Watching his 10-year-old son become the most famous kid on the planet. As Macaulay later put it, everything he tried to do in life, I excelled at before I was 10 years old. That's not a manageable dynamic. That's a fuse. Macaulay would later reveal that his Uncle Buck co-star, the late John Candy, was a father figure who wanted to protect him from his real-life monster father. Candy, who died of a heart attack at 43 in 1994, worked with 9-year-old Mac in the film and sensed that the boy's dad was a problem. And so by the time Macaulay turned 14, something snapped, as he would later tell a podcast host. "I even wanted to take a break for a while, and eventually I was like, I'm done, guys. Hope you all made your money because there is no more coming from me." Just like that, the most famous child actor in the world walked off the set and into something far more complicated. The movie was called Home Alone. The irony wasn't lost on anyone who knew what was happening inside the Culkin household. Culkin's parents separated after he filmed Richie Rich in 1994. And what followed wasn't just a quiet family split. It became a court fight, a public spectacle, and a battle over the future of a boy who just walked away from the biggest career in Hollywood. During his teenage years, his parents Kit Culkin and Patricia Brentrup split up, leading to an acrimonious custody battle over their 7 children, which also involved Macaulay's fortune, reported to be between $15 and $20 million. Both parents wanted control. Both parents wanted the kids, and in the middle of all of it stood Macaulay, the one who had actually earned the money they were fighting over. Culkin has said that he and his siblings didn't want to end up with their father, who he accused of being physically and mentally abusive to him. The custody proceedings dragged on, and at a certain point, Macaulay got proactive. At just 15 years old, Macaulay sued his parents to remove them as legal guardians in control of the $17 million he had earned from acting. The tabloids ran wild with the story. The headline they settled on: that he'd divorced his parents. He ended up taking his parents' names off the trust fund, which led to claims that he was divorcing himself from them. This, however, turned out not to be true. The real reason was that his mother was spending so much on legal fees during the separation that she couldn't pay her rent. His parents were never actually married, but there was a legal battle over who would get the kids and what would happen to Macaulay's money, and the young actor could see his mother struggling to pay for the essentials while he had a fund of millions. He later explained, "The next thing you know, the story was that I divorced my parents. I just thought I was doing it cleanly, taking my father's name off, taking my mom's name off. So my opinion is unbiased, and when I did that, the whole thing ended a lot faster." But a lot faster didn't mean clean. The trust filled with Macaulay's earnings as a child star was managed by his family's accountant until he was 18. When Macaulay sued his parents, Brentrup was tied up in a custody battle with her ex, seeking custody of their 6 minor children and the right to manage their careers. 2 years later, she won custody of all the children. Kit Culkin walked away, not just from the marriage, but from all 7 of his children. And Macaulay's verdict on that man hasn't softened with time. He'd later say, "I haven't spoken to him in about 30-something years. He deserves it too. He's a man who has 7 kids and now has 4 grandkids, and none of them want anything to do with him." He described his father as the worst person he'd ever known, adding, "I have more than an inkling that he does not feel that way. Like, we're wrong and he's right." He's one of those narcissistic, crazy people. What makes it more striking is that Macaulay knew, even as a child, exactly what was happening. During the custody battle, a judge ordered visitation with his father. He later recalled, "He was just the worst." And the judge was like, "Well, you have to do visitations with him." "I told my lawyer, I'm not doing that." He said, "Well, you'll be in contempt of court." And Macaulay responded, "How about I dare this judge to put me in jail for not wanting to visit my abusive father?" He added, "I actually had to double down on that. I double dare him to arrest the most famous kid in the world. That was the one time I played that card." The judge backed down. The visitations never happened. Kit vanished from the picture. And Macaulay, now a teenager, with no career, no father, a fractured family, and millions of dollars sitting in a trust he couldn't fully touch yet, stepped out of the spotlight and into one of the strangest gaps in Hollywood history. Here's where the story gets complicated in a completely different way. Right around the time Home Alone was becoming a cultural phenomenon, Macaulay Culkin got a phone call. Not from a director, not from a studio. According to People, he was just 10 years old when he first received a call from a then 32-year-old Michael Jackson. Jackson had seen him in Home Alone and reached out. They met in person when Macaulay performed in the Nutcracker in New York City. And just like that, the most famous child in the world had befriended the most famous person in the world. Despite the roughly 22-year age gap, Macaulay said, Jackson was a peerless person at the time. He felt Jackson could relate to him because the singer had also found fame at a young age. As part of the Jackson 5, they bonded over their common experiences of having to deal with fame at a young age and having overbearing fathers. Think about that for a moment. Two people, one, a child, 1. A global superstar, connecting specifically over the shared weight of fame forced on them before they could fully understand it, and fathers who used them rather than loved them. Macaulay later described what Jackson meant to him. During that period, with a clarity that stops you cold, nobody else in my Catholic school had even this much idea of what I was going through. And he was the kind of person who'd been through the exact same thing and wanted to make sure I wasn't alone, he said. The friendship was close enough that the Culkin brothers spent time at Neverland Ranch. As Kieran Culkin would later describe it, Kieran Culkin would sleep on this side. Macaulay Culkin was on this side. We all would just jam in the bed. Their older brother Shane would sometimes join them, and Jackson on nighttime cinema visits or excursions to Toys R Us. And Jackson, in turn, bought the 11-year-old Macaulay a Rolex and spoke to him on the phone for hours. To anyone on the outside, it looked alarming. And when Jackson was arrested in 2003 for allegedly molesting a child, the scrutiny landed directly on Macaulay. He was called to testify in Jackson's defense during the 2005 trial at which Jackson was acquitted. Culkin maintained that he had never experienced anything inappropriate with Jackson. At 24 years old, Macaulay took the witness stand in Jackson's defense, claiming he once shared a bed with Jackson and said he was never molested by him. It was a deeply public moment for a man who had spent nearly a decade trying to disappear from public life. And he stood firm. He defended the friendship with the same conviction he'd always had. Despite the controversy, Macaulay has said the friendship was normal and mundane, and that critics only questioned it because of the fact that he was the most famous person in the world. Macaulay has said their friendship was so normal and mundane, explaining that people questioned it only because of the fact that he was the most famous person in the world. Culkin is reportedly the godfather to Michael Jackson's daughter, Paris. That bond forged when both of them were navigating the specific isolation that extreme fame creates didn't die with the controversy. It didn't die with the scrutiny. It didn't even die when Jackson died in 2009. It just quietly continued into the next generation. When the Leaving Neverland documentary reopened all the old questions in 2019, Macaulay didn't waver. He told a podcast host the friendship was exactly what he'd always said it was: two people from radically different worlds and radically different ages who understood each other's loneliness in a way almost no one else could. Whether you take that at face value or not, one thing is clear: Macaulay Culkin has paid a price for that loyalty his entire adult life, and through all of it, he never once changed his story. The years between Macaulay's retirement from acting at 14 and his eventual return to public life weren't just quiet. They were fractured. One thing after another came at him, not in a dramatic, tabloid-ready spiral, but in the slower, harder way that real life tends to inflict damage. There was the marriage first. During school, he met actress Rachel Miner, and the two were both 17 when they got married on Father's Day, 1998. They were teenagers. The two married in June 1998, but the marriage did not last long. They separated in 2000 and finalized their divorce in 2002. He was 21 years old by the time the divorce was final, already a retired actor, an ex-husband, and a man with a complicated past, all before he was old enough to rent a car in most states. Then came 2004, the public release of his mugshot, and arrest record became a hot topic of discussion. Upon his arrest, police seized marijuana, Xanax, and clonazepam from his vehicle after the vehicle he was in was caught speeding. He later pleaded guilty to misdemeanor possession, but avoided jail time. The tabloids treated it like a confession of total collapse. The headlines practically wrote themselves: "The kid from Home Alone arrested, mugshot out." The whole circus. In 2012, rumors of addiction to heroin circulated through tabloids, though they were met with vehement denials. Photos emerged of a gaunt, hollow-looking Macaulay walking the streets of New York, and the internet decided it knew exactly what it was looking at. The National Enquirer ran with an addiction story. Everyone seemed certain this was how the story ended for him, except it wasn't. Other than the 2004 arrest and the much disputed claim by the National Enquirer that he was addicted to heroin, there's not much to point to the kind of appetite for self-destruction that has haunted so many young stars before him and since. But the losses that hit him hardest weren't the kind you can arrest away or check into a facility to escape. They were the permanent kind. In addition to the mental and physical difficulties inflicted during his upbringing, Culkin lost two of his siblings, one due to a drug overdose and the other in a car accident. The car accident was his sister Dakota. In 2008, at age 29, Dakota died after she was struck by a car while crossing a street in Marina del Rey, California. She had recently moved to Los Angeles to pursue a career in film production. According to her friend, she was very close to Macaulay. They would talk frequently on the phone or go out to eat. Culkin's partner Brenda Song later told Esquire, "He has gone through so much tragedy. He's had so many ups, so many downs. He's seen the ugly side of this industry. Dakota's death is a wound that hasn't closed." Kieran Culkin later said of his sister's passing, "That's the worst thing that's ever happened. And there's no sugarcoating that one. Each one of us handled it very differently. I think everyone was just torn up inside." And Macaulay, who had just lost a close friend in Michael Jackson a year later in 2009, was navigating grief on top of grief, mostly out of public view. So let's be clear about what a decade of Macaulay Culkin's adult life actually contained. A retired career at 14, an abusive father he legally cut off, a teenage marriage and divorce, a drug arrest, a public narrative of addiction that followed him everywhere, two dead siblings, and the death of his closest adult friend. For much of the late 1990s and early 2000s, he lived quietly, attending high school, pursuing personal interests, and keeping his distance from Hollywood. He wasn't spiraling in the way people wanted him to be. He was just trying to survive a lot of weight, quietly, largely alone. What makes Macaulay Culkin's story different from so many child star? Cautionary tales is what happened next, not a dramatic comeback, not a PR-managed rehabilitation arc, just slowly, genuinely, a life. In 2013, he formed a pizza-themed Velvet Underground cover band, the Pizza Underground. They played real venues, they toured, they got booed at a festival in England, and he basically shrugged it off. It was the kind of low-stakes creative chaos that someone living just for themselves gets to do. No studio, no manager, no Kit Culkin. Then came Brenda Song. In 2017, Macaulay began dating actress Brenda Song after meeting on a film set. The film was Changeland, shot in Thailand. Two former child stars who'd grown up in the same industry machine meeting on the other side of it. Their relationship has been a stabilizing force in his life. The couple welcomed their first child, a son named Dakota. In April 2021, Culkin and Song announced their engagement. In January 2022, the name Dakota wasn't accidental. They named their son Dakota Song Culkin in honor of Culkin's sister Dakota, who died in 2008, carrying her name into the next generation. Quietly, without a press release, is the kind of thing that tells you more about a person than any interview ever could. Macaulay welcomed his second child with Brenda in 2023. He shares sons Dakota and Carson with his fiancée. And then, in December 2023, something happened that would have seemed impossible back when the tabloids were running his mugshot. Macaulay Culkin was honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. To commemorate his 40-year career, Culkin, joined by Song and their two sons, received the 2,765th five-pointed terrazzo and brass star on Hollywood Boulevard. He stood on the stage and gave a speech, not the guarded, managed kind, a real one. He thanked several friends and family members, but things got especially emotional when he paid tribute to the mother of his children who wiped away tears as she listened. He looked straight at Song and said, "You are absolutely everything. You're my champion. You're not only the best woman I've ever known, "You're the best person I've ever known. You've given me just all my purpose. You've given me family." He reflected on his earliest memories of his own father, saying, "When I grew up, this is how I'm not gonna be with my kids." Now that he has kids of his own, he said, "It kicks up some dust." And I go, I can't believe he was like that. He had all these lovely kids. Culkin has shared that he's happy and committed to a sober lifestyle for the sake of his family. He has also shared that he rarely watches Home Alone because the memories are too emotional, but he acknowledges the film's enduring cultural impact. Here's the thing about the tragic fate of Macaulay Culkin. The tragedy isn't that he disappeared, it's that the machine that made him, the industry, the father, the fame, burned so hot so fast that it should have consumed him. By any honest accounting, an abusive home, a war over his money, in court as a teenager, a marriage that ended before he was 21, arrests, dead siblings, a globally scrutinized friendship that got dragged through a criminal trial. Any one of those would break people. In a 2018 interview, he said it plainly. "Look, I mean, it sucks, but it could have been worse. You know, I wasn't working in a coal mine. I wasn't a child soldier. My father was not sexually abusing me. Certain things happened, but things happen to kids all the time, and they don't come out the other end. I've got something to show for it, man. I got money, I got fame, I got a beautiful girlfriend, and a beautiful house and beautiful animals, a star on the Walk of Fame. 2 kids who carry the name of his lost sister, a woman beside him who, by his own account, gave him his purpose back. That's not a tragedy. That's a man who absorbed an enormous amount of damage and quietly, stubbornly refused to be finished by any of it." References Macaulay Culkin's tragic true life story. Looper, 1,487,863.html. Tragic details about Macaulay Culkin, the list. 1,474,481.html. The tragic real-life story of Macaulay Culkin. Nikki Swift, 773,391.html. What happened to Macaulay Culkin? Trending American. Macaulay Culkin legally took parents' names off trust fund, Ladbubble, 482,603 to 20,230,502.html. Macaulay Culkin legally wiped parents' names off $50 million trust fund, Lad Bible, 98,503 to 20,241,203.html. Did Macaulay Culkin's parents take all his money? Shun child. Macaulay Culkin opens up on 30-year estrangement from dad Kit, AOL, 215,600,746.html. Macaulay Culkin and Michael Jackson's controversial friendship, SCMP, 3,260,071.html. Kieran Culkin reflects on sister Dakota's death, AOL people, 42,738,691.html. Macaulay Culkin gives heartfelt speech at Walk of Fame induction, AOL, 202,200,425.html. What really happened to Macaulay Culkin's career? Yahoo News, 112,413,212.html.